Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you on an off day. And after an 11-2 Texas Rangers victory over the Baltimore Orioles on Sunday Night Baseball, it's good to be back. Family and I went on a little vacay, had a little fun over the weekend, was not able to go live. And you know what? Honestly, for about 3 out of those 4 games in the Orioles series, I would have rather not have gone live after the games. Those were pretty ugly losses collectively, and each loss had a little bit something new, and it was all miserable nonetheless. So I'm happy to be coming to you a day after a much needed Rangers victory. Rangers were teetering ever close to that 10 games under 500 limit, which I've said pretty much the entire season. 10 games under 500 to me, you may disagree, a little bit of a death sentence. 10 games under 500 after the halfway point of the season, just not good. And the Rangers avoid going 10 games under. They improved their record to, I believe, 38-46 off the top of my head. I think that's right. So now, off day today, and they head into an interleague matchup with the Padres tomorrow, a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday series. And then they welcome the Tampa Bay Rays, a team that they fared well against at the beginning of the year. Wouldn't it be kind of crazy if Josh Young were to come back in that series? Of course, that same series in early April that he left the Rangers with an injury to the hand, a wrist injury. That'd be pretty wild if Josh Young just went ahead and bookended that one. You play the Rays, you get hurt, and then you come back against the Rays the next time they play each other. That'd be pretty wild. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe we'll see Josh Young back for the series with the Padres. Something tells me maybe not, but you never know. And of course, teams keep things pretty tight to the chest. But we've gone on with our intro long enough. Of course, here at Right on Rangers, y'all, we cover everything sports. But we put a big emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Rangers, especially the Rangers during baseball season. Whether you're watching live or you're watching on the replay, thank you for joining us today after a few days off. I know I had some people dropping in the DMs saying, man, are you just not coming on because of the losing? No, no, no. Just took a little vacation. We need some off days here too, every once in a while. But no, rain or shine, unless we have got some family time planned, we'll be coming at you. So don't even worry about it. I'm going to be keeping up, making this commitment, going live after every game, win or loss. But we were out of town the past few days. So much needed break. And look, like I said, coincidentally, it was kind of nice to not be going live after some of those Orioles games. Some of those were ugly. And we'll do some talking about the past few games, not just last night. We'll do some dabbling into those 3 losses that the Rangers had at the hands of the Orioles on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But we're going to try and go glass half full and focus on the positives in this one. So, first of all, let's go ahead and let's start with pretty much I would say, the top story from the game yesterday, which was Wyatt Langford hitting for the cycle. Absolutely. And I see some comments about that as well. What's up, bud? Yes, Wyatt hits for the cycle. That sure was fun. And what was really, really cool about that cycle is that Wyatt really earned it with his legs, especially. I mean, one of the hits, the double, was kind of on just a ground ball that got past the second baseman, was kind of in between the 2 outfielders, and the dude just absolutely legged it out against a pretty solid Orioles outfield, to be honest. And Wyatt Langford, with his speed, able to leg out that ground ball for a double. Wyatt built a ton of this cycle up with his legs and with what he can do on the base paths, and it really was fun to watch. Man, I got to be honest, I wasn't expecting him to hit the homer, but it just felt right when it came off the bat. It was like, okay, this is meant to be. This is Wyatt's night. And it's been Wyatt's month. Langford has had an incredible month of June, and it really wasn't shocking that he went ahead and capped off this very special month that he's been on with a home run that caps off a cycle. First time that had ever been done on Sunday Night Baseball. I thought that was crazy. First time that a guy's ever hit for a cycle on Sunday Night Baseball. I thought I heard that right. I was actually on the plane back from vacation when it happened. So it didn't have sound on the entire time, but I thought I caught first time a cycle's ever been hit on Sunday Night Baseball. It just seems wild to me. Anyways, what's up, bud? We're just talking about the Rangers game yesterday and the Rangers series against the Orioles. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. So Wyatt Langford, we got to go through his stats here for the last 30 days. So let's basically look at Wyatt Langford's month of June. And by the way, he was 4 for 5 last night, 4 for 5 with, I believe, 4 RBI, 3 runs scored, averages up to 260 on the year. But let's do a deep dive here, right? Let's look at the last 30 games for Wyatt Langford. 291 average, 3 homers, 24 RBI in your last 30 games. Very impressive. 8 walks, 6 stolen bases. Very impressive stat line for a rookie. Last 30 games. Last 15 games for Wyatt, 309 average, 17 hits in your last 15 games, 15 RBI in your last 15 games. So Wyatt Langford, a big reason why the Rangers are at least staying above water right now. It was a very, very tough month of June. And those last, 2 series were pretty miserable to watch. But it was a good way to end the month. Hopefully better things are coming for us in July. June was pretty brutal for the Rangers, I got to say. Not a great month. Of course, the Rangers were able to sweep the Royals at home. That was kind of the highlight. And then they went on the road and just had a terrible time in Milwaukee and then a pretty terrible time in Baltimore. Glad they were able to salvage a win yesterday thanks to a 4 for 5 night for Wyatt Langford, hitting for the cycle. You love to see it. Hopefully, he'll continue to hit well for the Rangers, who are in desperate need of a winning streak, of a strong push in July if they want to stay relevant in this playoff chase. In the playoff hunt, the division is going to be tough. I told y'all for a while now, my eyes are kind of on the playoff push. I'm not really expecting the Rangers to go ahead and win the division. If they're able to put together a great run and make it happen, sweet. But right now, my eyes are just kind of on that playoff spot. Are the Rangers going to be able to sneak into that second or third wild card spot? I think that's really what most Rangers fans need to be focusing on. Right now, the Rangers are 8 games out of the division, and they also happen to be 8 games out of a playoff spot. So it's not looking great at this point. Rangers really need to have a good week coming up against the Padres and the Tampa Bay Rays. This week ahead, I think, is a huge week in the Rangers' playoff chances and whether or not they're going to be buyers or sellers. Of course, the trade deadline is on July 30th. Rangers have about 29 days to make something happen, to prove to the front office that they are going to be able to make the playoffs. The last thing that you want to do is you buy at the at the trade deadline. You buy at the trade deadline and you end up missing the playoffs altogether. Of course, you'll remember the Angels with Ohtani and Trout last year tried to do that. They were kind of in that same no man's land that the Rangers were in. And then they ended up buying. They got like Giolito and they went and got CJ Cron, I believe, or something like that. And they actually went on a losing streak. And they gave up some prospects in order to get those players and didn't even make the playoffs. We're talking about the Angels last year and Ohtani's last year. That's the last thing you want the Rangers to do. Be buyers, and then ultimately the guys that you do go out and get are swings and misses, pun intended, and you don't even make a wild card spot. So that would be the worst thing for the Rangers. I really, really hope that that doesn't end up happening. You really want to see them go on an extended type run, right? You want to see them win 5 of their next 7, or if you're looking over the next 2 weeks, win, 8, 9 of 13. That's the kind of effort you need to see. I think I was listening last night to the Rangers radio post game, and I want to say the Rangers are going to need to win 62% of their games if they even want to be like at an 86 win season. Right now, to win 90 games for the Rangers, it'd be pretty, I don't want to say impossible, but pretty tough for the Rangers to pull off a 90 win season at this point. So the Rangers, as they sit right now, are 38 and 46. So you played 84 games. You've got roughly 78 games left. So in order to win 90, I'm just trying to do this fast math right now, y'all. In order to win 90, you would have to go like 52 and 30 or something like that. 52 and 28. I don't know. Something crazy like that. That doesn't sound like a possible outcome for the Rangers at this point. I think you just focus on winning that 86, 87 mark, and you hope that's good enough to get you a third wild card spot. I just don't think 90 wins is possible this season, but I'd love for the Rangers to prove me wrong. Rangers need to go on a 9 and 13, 9 for 13. So that would be like 9 and 4 over the next 2 weeks. It'd be great if they could go 5 and 2 this week against the Padres and the Rays. It's not impossible, guys, but it's not going to be easy. Rangers are really, really going to have a very, very good clip here over the next month to be buyers at the deadline, and if they want to be relevant for the playoffs. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm also not saying it's going to be easy or I feel really, really good about it happening. What's going to be sad is if the Rangers can't get on a good track here, and then you've got to trade off some guys that are clubhouse staples at the moment. So we'll talk about that more, but let's go through the win from yesterday. Let's focus on some positives, and then we'll go to some comments, and we'll also play out some different scenarios here for the Rangers down the stretch as the playoffs approach. So right now, the game yesterday, Rangers are able to draw first blood. Derek Hill with a couple of no doubt home runs. Derek Hill and Wyatt Langford, to me, got to be neck and neck for the player of the game. I know Wyatt's going to get all the love, but really, Derek Hill, his home runs coming at the time that they did, the top of the second inning. Derek Hill putting the Rangers up 2-0. I just thought was huge. You give Andrew Heaney some cushion, and then in the top of the fifth, Derek Hill puts the Rangers up 8-2. Wyatt Langford had obviously a lot of huge situations in that game. So look, for me, neck and neck, Derek Hill, Wyatt Langford, players of the game. Multi-home run game for Derek Hill. I think the only other Ranger to do that this year is Corey Seager. I don't think any other Ranger has had a multi-home run game, Adolis Garcia included. I think Derek Hill and Corey Seager are the only Rangers to go multi-home run this year, which kind of shows you and tells you where the Rangers are at this year with their offense. But Derek Hill goes up with a 2-run bomb in the second to make it 2-0. Can we just talk for a second about that Baltimore ballpark? I mean, look, I absolutely hate what they did to that ballpark in left field. Hate it. And you guys know I'm a gamer. I love playing MLB The Show. I hate hitting in that ballpark in MLB The Show. I can't imagine what it's like to be playing there for a living, trying to hit home runs. I mean, I think it was a ridiculous move that they made, 2 years ago, moving back the fences. I mean, it's almost, to me, kind of comical how deep that left field fence is. So they pushed back the fence, I think I read last night, they pushed back the fence 2 years ago, 25 and a half feet. So they did that, but then they went ahead and moved the fence up more. I think 5 feet. So you moved it back 22, or actually, excuse me, 26 and a half. And then you went ahead and raised it about 5.5 feet. I just think it is an absolutely terrible ballpark to be a right-handed hitter in trying to hit home runs. I mean, just my 2 cents on that Baltimore Orioles ballpark. Hate that they moved it back 26 feet and then they raised the fence 5.5. There were some no doubter home runs that the Rangers hit in a lot of ballparks that didn't go out this weekend. So I am thankful that the Rangers are getting out of Camden Yards. Terrible ballpark. Love the aesthetic of it. So I'm not saying it's a tough ballpark to look at. It's actually a beautiful ballpark. I just hate what they did in left field. You have got to absolutely mash the ball out of that stadium to hit a home run. There are a lot more hitter-friendly ballparks than Oriole Park at Camden Yards. I'm glad the Rangers are leaving that place. Derek Hill had to hit 2 no-doubters to get the ball out of there. Wyatt Langford, same thing for his home run. Super tough place to hit a home run. Not a fan of the dimensions there at Oriole Park or what they decided to do 2 years ago, moving the fences in left field back 25, 26 feet and raising the fence an additional 5 feet. I just think you could have probably settled in the medium there. A happy medium, I think, would have been move it back 11 feet, maybe raise the fences 2 or 3. I think 26 feet, moving it back along with raising the fences 5, ridiculous. So going back to Derek Hill, dude had to hit 2 no-doubters in order to get those out, and they were prodigious shots. Wyatt Langford, his home run to complete the cycle was a no-doubter as well. I mean, you're going homer gone in 30 of 30 if you're putting it out at Oriole Park. So glad the Rangers are going back to Globe Life Field for some home games. Oriole Park, just not my favorite place to watch the Rangers righties try and hit. Not my favorite place in MLB The Show to hit either. I'm glad the Rangers are heading back home. So we have Derek Hill, Wyatt Langford, probably your 2 players of the game. And going through the rest of the box score here, you had Smith going 2 for 5. He had a nice game with an RBI. You had Nate Lowe going 2 for 5 with 2 RBI. Good to see Nate going multi-hit. Kisner, we've railed on Kisner here at Right on Rangers. I'm not even going to hide from it. It was good to see Kisner getting a couple of hits. I think he had an extra base hit, a double. Good to see Kisner coming through and having a nice day at the plate, because that 147 average is just not doing it for me. I thought his pass ball in the first or second inning, I think that made it 2-1. I think it was in the second inning. Kisner had a pass ball that allowed an Orioles runner to score. And at that point, I was fuming. It's just the little things, right? When you're on a 6 or 7 game losing streak, whatever it was, it's all about the little things. So Andrew Kisner allowing that pass ball in the second inning after the Derek Hill 2-run shot, you're just like, come on, man. You're supposed to be like a good defender now, a much improved defender. So Kisner getting a couple of hits, thought it was a little bit of redemption for him. That was a rough pass ball in the bottom of the second inning. Right after the Derek Hill homer, you guys know I've said this so many times. After you hit a home run, a multi-RBI home run, you want to have a shutdown inning the next inning, and Andrew Heaney deserved better in that second inning. But look, Heaney goes 7 strong, 10 strikeouts. I mean, look, you're not going to, I don't know, maybe he is on the front page today. We'll check that out if Andrew Heaney made MLB.com front page. But if you would have told me that Andrew Heaney was going to have this type of season, I would be absolutely elated. And I am. Andrew Heaney has been a phenomenal player. He didn't make MLB front page, but Andrew Heaney was dealing last night against a very good Baltimore Orioles offense. Wyatt Langford, rightfully so, kind of steals a little bit of the thunder. But Andrew Heaney going 7 strong innings, only giving up 5 hits, I believe, 2 earned runs, 10 strikeouts. Like, we got to give that guy some love after the performance he had last night. Urania comes in, throws 2 scoreless to end it. Andrew Heaney, 4.04 ERA. I mean, look, when you have a 4th or 5th starter, you're thankful if they can give you 4.50 ERA. Right around that 4.5 mark, I think is beautiful for a 4th or 5th starter. Of course, you'd love to see it in the 3s. But look, most of the time out of your 4th or 5th starter, you're getting about a 4.50 ERA, and you're going to take that. So for Andrew Heaney to be at 4.04, and it's crazy he's only 3-9 on the year. But I heard a crazy stat on the radio yesterday. I believe Andrew Heaney has given up like 3 runs or less in like 13 of 16 starts. So he's had 16 total starts. And I believe the stat is in 13 of those 16 games for Andrew Heaney, he's given up 3 earned runs or less. That's pretty impressive from a guy that's supposed to be your 4th or 5th starter. So look, Andrew Heaney, he kind of gets lost in the Wyatt Langford cycle, hoopla, and it's well-deserved on Wyatt's part. But don't forget about Andrew Heaney. The dude has suffered through some absolutely terrible run support and has continued to pitch his butt off. Like, Andrew Heaney has numbers that a 2nd, 3rd starter would be worthy of. I think Andrew Heaney has had a great season. He is going to get a nice contract next year. I don't know if it's going to be with us. We'll have to see how the season ends, how much he likes playing in Texas, what kind of deal he's willing to take. But Andrew Heaney is going to get a nice contract next year if he continues to throw this way. I think he is going to get paid. I'm not saying it's going to be like a Monty deal like he got with Arizona this year. By the way, Monty, just feel for the guy. Having a really tough season with the Diamondbacks. Kind of had a little publicized meltdown in the dugout after getting pulled in his most recent start. Feel for Montgomery, for sure. Jordan Montgomery, October hero for the Rangers last year. He is having a tough year with the Diamondbacks. Don't think Andrew Heaney is going to be getting Montgomery money. But if he continues to pitch like this, he is going to get paid. I don't know if it's going to be with the Rangers. Gio, what's up? Thanks for tuning in today. Appreciate you. The comment says, Rangers finally scored 7+ runs. Indeed, they did. Hopefully, they save some for the Padres series. Am I right? The Rangers win every time when they score 7+. Marcus Semien needs to be better. Go Rangers. Appreciate the comment, sir. We've got Marcus Semien in a terrible slump right now. They flashed up like his last so many games. Let's take a look at it. It's going to be ugly. So let me give you a little warning right now. Marcus Semien, last 15 games, 8 for 62, 129 batting average. Semien, his last 7 games, 2 for 31, hitting .065. Last 30 games, Marcus Semien, 22 for 116, 190 average. And the other problem with Simi, he doesn't walk. And I've said this. It's frustrating. Like, you can have a poor average as a leadoff hitter. And when I say poor, I'm talking sub 250. You can have a sub 250 average, but be really good at drawing walks and getting on base, and it kind of makes up for it. Marcus Semien is not a guy that walks a ton. So when you have your leadoff hitter hitting 235 and you have his OBP sub 300, that's a big reason why the offense isn't doing so well. Now, look, I know that a lot of people, and I kind of met a little resistance as I jokingly lobbied for Marcus Semien to get some more votes from Rangers fans over Jose Altuve. Now, look, does anybody want to see Jose Altuve start the All-Star game if you're a Rangers fan? Absolutely not. Why would you want to see Marcus Semien ride the bench over Jose Altuve in an All-Star game? I surely don't. I want to see Marcus Semien in his home ballpark start an All-Star game. So for me, when I threw up, I think it was last week, Come on now. Let's get Simi in over Altuve. So much negativity from certain people. I was only on a couple of the different socials that I'm on. No Ranger deserves to be in the All-Star game. I'm not voting for any Rangers. They don't deserve to be in the All-Star game. Okay, come on now. I don't want to see Altuve over Simeon. And can we all just get off the high horse a little bit and just celebrate the All-Star game in Arlington? We want some guys to be represented from our team. Marcus Semien, I believe, still leads all second basemen in RBI. Don't sit there and tell me that the dude is totally undeserving. No, he's not on a good stretch right now. You're not going to hear me try and pump this up like Semien is having this outstanding, incredible career year. But let's just deal with reality. He leads all AL second basemen, I believe, still in RBI. So he's not terrible. And he's a really good defender. I'm glad, Gio, that you brought this up. He's a really good defender. And he leads all AL second basemen in RBI. Let's not sit around and pretend like he sucks, he's awful, he's the worst ever. He's not. And if he can start over Jose Altuve, I really don't care. Let's get that dude in over Altuve if at all possible. Please. But Marcus Semien needs to be better. I've kind of said it a few different times. And by the way, let me correct something. Simi took 2 walks yesterday. Look, everybody was kind of getting on base yesterday. We're not trying to take away from Marcus getting on base a couple of times, but Semien needs to be better. And I've said, I don't know if Boch is getting asked this question. I don't know if Marcus Semien is one of those guys where you move him out of that leadoff spot and he's either getting butt hurt or it's just taking him out of something mentally. I don't know. I don't know if Marcus is good with moving down a spot in the order. But you can't have your leadoff guy hitting 235 with a sub 300 OBP. It's just not going to work. And I know that we can sit here and say, it's Marcus Semien. Like, he's going to be fine. You just got to ride it out. I don't know. I think if the Rangers want to make the playoffs, they are getting to a point where they've got to start thinking about doing things a little bit differently. Now, if you were to move Simi from the leadoff spot, let's just play around with this. We're not sitting here saying this is what they need to do. Pound hand against desk, and it needs to happen otherwise. I mean, we're just spitballing here. So let's say you did move Marcus out of the leadoff spot. Marcus Semien, last 30 games hitting below 200. Who would you replace? Who would you hit leadoff? I think there's a few options that are worth talking about. So let's entertain it. I think the few options that I'd consider in the leadoff spot, Josh Smith. And this is when Josh Young gets back. I think you really can't move Josh Smith out of that 2-3 spot until Corey Seager's back healthy and Josh Young gets back. But when Josh Young and Corey Seager are back healthy, I think you could have Josh Smith hit leadoff. In fact, I would entertain it. You could go Josh Smith first. You could go Corey Seager second, Josh Young third. Do you move Marcus Semien down past fifth? I think that would be the extreme option. I think that if you're going to move Marcus Semien out of the leadoff spot, the most logical, realistic would probably be Josh Smith first, Semi second, Siegs hits third. You maybe keep going at it, Doley fourth, Wyatt Langford, Josh Young fifth, sixth. And maybe when there's a lefty on the bump, you go Josh Young in the 3 spot, right? And maybe you tweak things around and play with things a little bit more. But there's not an obvious, like, super easy decision there if you're going to move Simi out of the leadoff spot. I think the Rangers are going to have to consider it if Marcus Semien keeps hitting below 200. Simi, last 30 games, 191 batting average. Right? On the season, Simi now hitting 235 with a sub 300 OBP. That is almost a death sentence for a lineup when you've got a leadoff hitter hitting below 300. Now, does Marcus Semien have the ability to continue to be a leadoff hitter and do that job well? Absolutely he does. We're not sitting here saying he's washed. We are saying you're getting to kind of a desperate point in the season. Are you not? I think the Rangers are at a pretty desperate spot in the season. You're 8 games below 500. You're 8 games out of a playoff spot. You need something to happen. You need something to start going right. I don't know if Marcus Semien getting taken out of the leadoff spot is really the answer. I don't know if Josh Young coming back into the lineup, Evan Carter coming back into the lineup is the answer. But we're kind of putting everything on the table right now, here at Right On Rangers at least. I can imagine they're doing that too if they're good at their jobs in the front office and the coaching staff. They're putting everything on the table right now. I know Marcus Semien has been a staple in that leadoff spot, but if he keeps hitting sub 200, I don't know if you can continue to hit him there the rest of the way. It might be time for a tough conversation. Marcus, we're going to try a few other things. You can always go back to what you've always done. You don't have to demote Simi from the leadoff spot and then he never hits leadoff again the rest of the way. He starts hitting well again, maybe you move him back up. And I have been an advocate of this throughout the entire season with multiple players. I said, let's hit Josh Smith third in May, in April. And I know some people looked at that a little bit funny, but look at what they're doing now. I don't think it's bad to move the lineup around. I know some people, some fans are really locked in on the concept of when you change the lineup, it's not good. It's not good. It throws players off. If you've ever played baseball and you played it at high school level, college level, I mean, I can only tell you my experience and just talking with other baseball players. I really don't think that's a thing. Like I said, you have to be pretty mentally weak if hitting fourth versus fifth throws you off your game. If hitting first versus second just really throws you off. At the end of the day, you get in that batter's box, you're one-on-one with the pitcher, you're just playing ball. I don't know. I really don't believe in you move guys around in the lineup and suddenly they just can't hit the baseball anymore. You can agree to disagree with me. I'm just not going to be convinced that these professional hitters are going to be no longer able to hit if you hit them in a different batting lineup order. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. I'm just not going to be convinced. I think you can move Simi off the leadoff spot, and he's still going to be a good hitter for you. He can't be any worse. So I'm all for moving guys around. And Wyatt Langford, I think they've gotten a great spot for the record. Hitting Wyatt Langford fifth, sixth, I think is great. I don't think they need to hit him any higher or lower. I think fifth is a great spot for Wyatt Langford. And when Josh Young comes back, then you've got a 5 and a 6 spot pretty much taken care of. You can move Nate Lowe down to 7. I think that would be really ideal. I love that 1 through 6. And this is no particular order, but I love Simi, Seager, Smith, Doley, Young, Langford. Again, no particular order, but I love that top 6. That is a formidable first 6 hitters. Then you add Nate Lowe into the 7 spot maybe, and then you're just hoping your 8, 9, you can get some production. Maybe Derek Hill can continue hitting well. Maybe Leote in certain spots can continue to give you some good games, good at bats. But I like that 1 through 6. It's hard not to like that 1 through 6. Again, Simi, Seager, Josh Smith, Doley, Langford, Josh Young. No particular order for the batting lineup, but you'll take that first 6 hitters. You'll take that top 6. So we'll see what happens. Josh Young still figuring some things out. You add Evan Carter back. I like it. this Rangers team could turn things around. Now, is last night like the big turnaround moment of the season? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say yes. Did they need to win that game? Yeah, because that would have sent them 10 games under 500. And I am sticking to my guns on if they drop 10 games under 500 at any point, I don't think the Rangers are going to make the playoffs. I think it's going to be too difficult. I hope to be wrong. I'm not going to be changing my tune, not covering the rest of the season or anything like that if they do drop 10 games under. I just think at this point, you drop 10 games under, you're making it really hard on yourself. It's already hard enough that the Rangers are 8 games out of a playoff spot with 78 games left. That's still a lot of baseball, but it's not going to be easy. And they do, and they will have to go on a big run if they hope to make the playoffs and be buyers around July 30th. Then you start thinking about potentially selling off some players. And we're not going to do a deep dive on that until it gets closer. But some of the Rangers players on expiring contracts, the big names, I'll probably say Nate Eovaldi and Andrew Heaney. I think those are probably the two guys that are your biggest trade bait pieces at this point. And I would be absolutely gutted if we had to trade either one of those two guys. I love Andrew Heaney. I know a lot of fans have been hard on Andrew Heaney over his tenure here. You know, a lot of knocks on him. He can only last 4 or 5 innings. Belongs in the bullpen. And I've said Andrew Heaney, I think, is ultimately going to be a good bullpen piece for us down the stretch, assuming that we're still in playoff contention. But those are the guys that are probably going to get traded. Max Scherzer, I don't know if you're going to be able to trade. Scherzer has a no-trade clause, and I think his health is too big of a question mark. I can't see any team that has a competent front office trying to trade for Max Scherzer and giving up anybody of value to do it. I mean, Scherzer would have to be dominant in his next 3 or 4 starts before the trade deadline. And even then, even if Max Scherzer goes 4-0 with a 150 ERA with a crazy number of strikeouts over his next 4 starts, I still don't know if a contender is feeling good about trading for Max Scherzer with the health issues. And Scherzer, he owns a full no trade clause. So I don't know if Scherzer, I would say, is a great trade bait piece at this point. But I do think Ebo is, and I do think Andrew Heaney is, and I think those are the guys you're going to see the Rangers trade if they continue in a downward spiral. I hope it doesn't come to that. I feel confident that the Rangers are going to at least hang around and make this interesting, but I do think the front office is going to have a tough decision. I think at the trade deadline, the Rangers are maybe going to be around 500. This is my prediction. Trade deadline, the Rangers will be right around 500. Maybe a game or 2 under, maybe, if all goes well, a game or 2 over, and the front office is going to have one crazy, difficult decision. Don't envy them, because it is a big decision. If you're buying, who are you going to go and get, and who are you giving up in our farm system? And if you do go out, if CY goes out and he decides we're buyers at the trade deadline, you better be right that we're going to make the playoffs. Because next year is actually a really good year for the Rangers to be contenders. 2025 is going to be a better year than this year. You're going to have a full season of DeGrom. You're still going to have a lot of staples in the lineup, right? Simi's not going anywhere. Seager's not going anywhere. Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter, they're not going anywhere. 2025 is going to be a very good contending year for the Rangers. There's no way to argue that it's not. It's going to be a good year for the Rangers next year. So if you are a buyer, if you're a buyer this year, if you're buying this year, you better be right. Don't sell off farm pieces if you're not going to make the playoffs. As much as I would hate to see the Rangers miss October, the last thing that I want them to do is be buyers at the deadline and ultimately miss out on the playoffs. That would be worse to me. That would be worse than missing the playoffs. If the Rangers don't do anything this year at the deadline, or if they sell at the deadline and miss the playoffs, that sucks. It hurts. I'm not going to love it. But what I'm not going to love more is the Rangers buying at this deadline and missing the playoffs. I'll trust CY in the front office, but to me, that hurts more. You're buying at the deadline and you miss the playoffs. That's more of a gut punch than selling off Andrew Heaney and Nate Eovaldi and missing the playoffs altogether. More of a gut punch would be you sell some farm pieces away and you get guys that didn't even help you make the playoffs, when next year, I think, is a bright year for the Rangers. You got a full year of DeGrom. You still got Tyler Mahle. You still got John Gray. And I know John Gray's had a couple rough starts, but I still think John Gray's a good pitcher. You can imagine that the Rangers are probably going to be in the market for some good starting pitching next year with some contracts coming off the books. You've got the Scherzer deal coming off the books. If Evo leaves, look, Evo's contract was a pretty friendly one, but still double-digit $1 million contract. So you've got Evo's contract coming off the books. Ideally, you re-sign Nate Eovaldi and you don't have to trade him. Next year's going to be a big year, though, for the Rangers, and I really hope that it works out, that they don't have to trade away Evo, that they don't have to trade away Heaney. Because if you just run it back with the same team, maybe you go add a right-handed bat, preferably a first baseman in free agency. Go add a right-handed power bat in free agency, preferably a first baseman. I think that's really all the Rangers need to do. I don't think that they need to go out and add a ton of pieces. Now, is Dolly regressing? Is he past his prime? I don't know. But I can't imagine that they're going to be trading Dolly. I can't imagine that they're going to be dumping him or finding a way to write him out of the plans either. Ideally, next year, you re-sign Evo. You see if you can get Andrew Heaney to come back. Mike Lorenzen is on a 1-year deal. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep Lorenzen. But ideally, you see if you can get Evo and Heaney to re-sign. You go get a right-handed bat. Maybe you go get a bullpen, some bullpen pieces. I think David Robertson and Yates are they on expiring contracts too? I'll have to try and look that up. But ideally, you try and run it back with this team. In 2025, I think the Rangers have better chances than they had this year. I like their chances this year, but ideally, you run it back. I don't think that the Rangers are that far away from being a really, really good team. So David Robertson is on a 1-year deal. Kirby Yates, I believe, I'm looking it up right now. You also bear with me. Kirby Yates is on a 1-year deal. It's going to be tough to keep some of those guys. So the Rangers are going to have to do some work in the bullpen next offseason because you're losing Yates and you're losing Robertson unless you can re-sign them. Those guys, I think, are also, I take it back, Heaney, Evo, Robertson, Yates. For a contending team that needs some bullpen pitching help, if the Rangers keep losing games, those 4 guys are the trade chips. And maybe you can get some guys in the farm system restocking, getting maybe some players that are ready next year. I don't think you want to go out and get anybody that's going to be ready in 3 years. If you have to trade Evo, if you have to trade Heaney, if you have to trade Robertson, Yates, at least get some minor league guys that are ready next year. But let's shelf that conversation. It's already making me sad having to talk about it. I hope that the Rangers, like Gio just said, I hope that the Rangers can go 4-2 or better this week. Now, look, they've got, yep, that's right, 3 games against the Padres, 3 games against the Rays. Ideally, you go 4-2 this week. You win both series, or you sweep one. Maybe you lose one series, but you at least sweep one. But I would prefer the Rangers go 2 out of 3 against the Pods, go 2 out of 3 against the Rays. That would be huge. As the All-Star break approaches, that would be absolutely huge. So hopefully that comes to fruition. And then, is it All-Star game on Tuesday, a week from Tuesday? Feel like that's got to be, no, All-Star game still isn't for a while. What's going on here? Got to figure this out. So we play Rays on Sunday. We must still have a while. Monday, we play the Angels. So we've got the 8th, the 9th, the 10th playing the Angels. So we've got Angels after Rays. And then looks like we have an off day. We're just kind of doing a deep dive on the schedule right now here. Then we play a weekend series with the Astros in Houston, a 3-game series with the Astros in Houston. And then All-Star break. So that's how it's going to go, y'all. We've got Padres, Rays, then after that, Angels, who are actually pretty hot on the Rangers' tail right now. And then we've got Astros. So, look, nobody really who I would consider to be a slouch until the All-Star break. Right? The Padres have got some talent. The Rays have got some talent. The Angels, they just, I think, won 5 or 6 games in a row. And they beat us in the first series we played them this year. And the Astros are surging right now. It's not like a super easy stretch into the All-Star break. It's not. So, if I'm not mistaken, we've got a total of 12 games before the All-Star break. I think 6 this week, 6 next week. I think you got to go at minimum 8-4. I don't think 7-5 is going to do anything for us in the standings. I think you got to go at minimum 8-4 the next 2 weeks to be buyers. I think 8-4 has got to be the goal. Next 2 weeks before the All-Star break. We'll see what happens. Now, let's preview the Padres series, and then we're going to get out of here. So, nobody has been announced yet for the Padres series. Actually, sorry, I was looking at the Angels series that starts next week on Monday, Tuesday. Let me check this out. So, for the Padres series, here we go. Evo going on Tuesday against Dylan Cease. Cease has a 3.84 ERA, Evo 3.45 ERA. Preview the matchups here. So the Rangers have Corey Seager hitting 429 off Cease. And we've also got a couple other guys who've got some decent numbers. Jankowski looks like 1 for 3 in his career. Doley is 3 for 12 with a home run. Other than that, not a lot of notables, a lot of small sample sizes. Nate Lowe is 3 for 9. And then on the other side, the Padres versus Evo. We've got maybe 5 or 6 guys that have numbers. Profar, 1 for 2. Wade, 0 for 6. Peralta, 0 for 3. Machado is, I want to say, 2 for 12 in his career with a home run. So 167 average. Higashioka is, I think, 4 for 7. So maybe that's a guy to circle. Arise is 1 for 5. So look, on either side, really nothing too special in terms of the pitching matchups. I'm not seeing anything that's really catching my eye. If Corey Seager is available tomorrow, that sure would be nice because he's facing a guy that he has some good numbers against. I don't know what the plan is for Corey Seager. I haven't heard anything. Drop it in the comments if you've got a Corey Seager update. I haven't heard anything. It sure would be nice to get him back for Tuesday against Dylan Cease, who he has hit well off of in the past. Looks like Derek Hill, Jonah Heim, Ofer against Cease. It's kind of a mixed bag. Like I said, Derek Hill's 0 for 3. 3 at-bats is not a huge sample size. Maybe it was an off day. Same thing for Jonah Heim. He's like 0 for 4, 0 for 5. Now, let's preview the rest of the series. Let's see what the pitching matchups are like for Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday, we will have John Gray on the bump. And Thursday, final game of the series with the Padres, we will have Scherzer on the bump. So we got Evo, Gray, Scherzer. So what Gio said in the comments from YouTube, I think is pretty accurate for this week. And especially with the Padres, you've got pretty much your 3 best starters going against the Padres. I mean, John Gray, maybe John Gray's debatable, 3 best, but you've got Evo and Scherzer, and you've got John Gray going against the Padres. You need to win some ball games. Hopefully the offense shows up. I don't know. It's going to be a big series. Before the All-Star break here, these games are really, really important. These next 2 weeks, I really feel like are going to make or break what the Rangers end up doing at the deadline. 100%. What's going to happen to Leote? I don't know. I think he is going to platoon right now while Derek Hill is hitting bombs every other at bat. I mean, I don't think Leote is going to be working himself back into an everyday role. I think he is probably going to be platooned. And when Evan Carter gets back, it's going to get even more difficult. So something tells me we've probably seen our last of Leote being an everyday guy for the Rangers. Just my gut feeling there. Let me check other comments here, and then we're going to wrap it up. At this point, a couple things on Instagram. Somebody says, I assume when we were talking about Semien, there's really nothing to lose by switching up the lineup a little bit. It's been bad. So if you're thinking about making a move, maybe moving Marcus Semien down a little bit in the lineup from the leadoff spot, being he's hitting under 200 in his last 30 games, what do you have to lose? It really can't get worse than what the lineup has been over the past, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. They had a nice night last night. Glad to see it. Glad to see the double-digit run scored. I don't think you got a lot to lose moving Simi down or tweaking a few things in the lineup. I know some Rangers fans really don't want to see it. They like the consistency. They think that it means something for the Rangers hitting better. Personally, I don't. I don't think it matters. So we'll see what they do. But these next 2 weeks are huge. The Rangers have to be successful these next 2 weeks. I think they play 12 games. I think you got to go 8-4 at minimum. 9-3 would be ideal. 10-2 would be a dream. Anything better than 10 wins, I would be jaw drop. Miracles do happen. But I think you got to go 8-4 these next 2 weeks before the All-Star break if you want to have a chance at being a buyer at the deadline and making the playoffs in general. All right, y'all. Well, we will have a video out tomorrow updating our system, betting 1 cent on Rangers money line for every follower. It's been rough, especially that 6-game losing streak. That nearly did us in. It was nice to get a win yesterday, but we are going to keep it coming. Appreciate all the new people that have been following on TikTok. Appreciate the people that have been following on YouTube, especially those two, probably getting our most followers from the challenge. Instagram, Facebook, X, Snapchat. We're also adding up all of our followers from those socials as well. Greatly would appreciate if you're not following the channel and you've been watching or you're watching this on the replay, hit that follow or subscribe button. Let's keep growing this community of really, really good people talking Rangers baseball. I love it. It's why I started this. And if you know somebody that's a big MLB fan, loves the Rangers. Share one of my videos with them. Tell them about the account. That would mean a lot. Thank you for supporting me, supporting the channel. It does not go unnoticed, and I'm very, very grateful. So tomorrow we'll be back at you post-game, hopefully after a Nate Eovaldi gem and Rangers win. That's the plan, at least. And then we will be with you throughout the week, bringing you our post-game reaction for the series against the Padres and the Rays. And of course, we'll go through things around the league that are catching our eye. We'll do our AL West roundup as well. By the way, real quick, only 3 games going today. Astros are beating the Blue Jays right now in the top of the 9th inning, 1-0. So with the win, they would gain a half game on the Rangers. Hopefully the Blue Jays will have a little 9th inning magic in the bottom half. The Astros currently 4.5 games up on the Rangers. They would move that to 5 games up. It's crazy that the Astros have lengthened their lead this much on the Rangers, but that's what a losing streak does to you. It literally could not have been more perfect timing for the Astros, winning 6 or 7 in a row while the Rangers lost 6 or 7 in a row. Sucks. It's unfortunate. Hopefully the Blue Jays will have a little 9th inning magic and take down the Stros for us. That sure would be nice. But if the Stros were to get a win, they bump up 5 games up on the Rangers for that second place spot. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But you know what? Let's spin it positively to end our show. We have got 78 games left. It's a lot of baseball. We got to get some good winning streaks going here over the next 2 weeks. Let's go 8-4, be buyers at the deadline, and make the playoffs. That's the plan. We're sticking to it. All right, y'all. Thanks again for tuning in. Hope to see y'all tomorrow night after the live or on the replay. We'll be back at you the rest of the week as well. So if we don't see you tomorrow, hopefully we'll see you in one of the other Padres games or Rays games. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday and a great week ahead. And as I always say to end every show, God bless. Go Rangers. Have a great Monday.